Yes! It is I, the dude that plays this game, apparently. So, I was supposed to finish the series. It was supposed to be done within like a month. But of course, life got busy and I just feel like I didn't... Generally, I felt like I didn't want to play this because it's more weird. I don't know how to say it. And then I did get some spoilers. Apparently, we're gonna meet some new females. So, oh my god, I haven't played it since December 31st. Of 2025. Currently, when I'm recording this, June 29th. I just got back to this game after recording a bunch of other games. What happened beforehand? All I know is we were on a planet, just like the second game, and then that's pretty much it. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know how long this game is. I don't know if I gave voices to these characters, but I'm gonna try to give voices to these characters because I made a a Mario Bros. FNAF game, and I gave a voice to Mario. So I'm gonna try to give a voice. It's a guarantee that I will lose it later within the series because I know I'm gonna get really tired of talking so much because this is a game where you have to talk a lot. But anyway, let's get into the point. I got used to the fact that we were always on the move, never staying in one place for more than a couple of days. Most of the time, Juno and I spent our days together, of course. Training, talking, having sex. I mean, it's the average American life. And trying to somehow add some variety to our pretty monotonous routine. When all the required tasks were finished, we usually occupied ourselves with video games. We had tons of them. They were both modern and old simulators. Some of which were at least a couple hundred years old. That's crazy. Long forgotten games we picked up at stations where merchants bought them from every corner of the universe. I liked those old games the most. There was something special about them, an echo of distant civilizations, some long since extinct. We played in silence, passing the tablets or controllers back and forth. If I felt especially lazy, I'd just watch Juno play. Juno Let's Plays? Dude, someone should make that channel. That'd be really funny. A Juno Let's Plays channel. It was routine. This was how the hours and days passed on the ship. Do they not watch movies? Or TV shows? Was there no, like, cable? Because I know they're going through space and all, but, like, they should at least have cable. Juno won more often than I did, but I never cared. Seeing her carefree happiness over such nonsense was nice. Our next stop was a planet in the nearest solar system, called Ilona. And according to Pixie's calculations, the trip there would take about 3 days. The next morning, Juno and I had breakfast separately. I slept badly and got up later than usual, and Juno had spent half the night in the lab again. That's very unhealthy. When I walked into the kitchen, Juno had already finished eating and was sitting at the table with a tablet in her hands. Anything interesting? Juno looked at me. Good morning, doggo. Well, let's see. There is indeed something interesting. Come here. I sat down across from her, pulling my meal closer. Juno snorted and turned her tablet toward me, opening her notes. I started eating while scanning the data apparently collected last night thanks to Pixie. Despite my experience, I still only half understood Juno's notes. What's this? Data on our next stop. My sensors picked up an anomaly on this planet, known as Astaria 3 in the Ilona system. It's one of 2 planets orbiting a parent dwarf star. I nodded, looking over the map in the star system diagram. Alright, let's go. There's something unusual about this planet, though. Oh my god, you know what this reminds me of? I completely forgot about Juno's sister. The freaking engineer bot, Protogen. I completely forgot about the sister. Are we gonna see the sister? Or was that like she has a family? We just randomly stopped by her sister and just never talked about her ever again. Like, it's just a one-off gag. Like, what the heck? Juno projected a hologram. A greenish sphere appeared before us. The thing is, this planet has been considered uninhabitable for millennia. It died out long before I started my space expeditions. Since it's so far from the Protogen homeworld, almost no one ever went there. The race that I lived there developed very quickly. Some data remains already 3,000 years old. According to them, the Astaria inhabitants were biologically very similar to your kind, with a few small differences. They reached out to other beings in the universe, eager to make contact. But over time, they became more hostile to interplanetary contact. Eventually, they stopped responding or sending signals, keeping to themselves. No one knew what happened there. Like I said, there was only one expedition, and that info is long outdated. In the Protogen open database, only a few notes remain. Last contact with the planet was 3,000 years ago, and last activity in this galaxy was 2,500 years ago. Since then, nothing. As I took another bite, the hologram faded from a blinking dot to a dead, lifeless circle. So, did something happen to them? Did you think they were invaded or destroyed? Juno shrugged. It's possible, but unlikely. There aren't that many advanced aggressive races in the universe, ones that prefer conquering planets to explore. Intergalactic councils. So there is like a government around these solar systems, so that's kind of interesting. Intergalactic councils keep watch over such species. Think about it. Who would waste as many resources and time just to wipe out a distant civilization? Plus, I have no data on military contacts within this galaxy in the last 3,000 years. What about space pirates? Dude, imagine Assassin's Creed Black Flag but in space. That would have been so cool. That'd be a really, really interesting mechanic. What about space pirates? Could it have been them? Juno smirked. No way. Pirates are just pests. Small-time thieves on a universal scale. They attack cargo ships, sometimes tourists for hostages. But attacking a whole planet? Not a chance. They don't have the resources. Then it really is weird. A whole civilization just vanished? That happens too, but there's usually a logical reason. Sometimes the population wipes itself out. Sometimes there's a catastrophic that wipes that planet, but all of that takes time. A highly developed civilization just doesn't disappear overnight, and this one went dark in just a few years. Could it have been another anomaly? Like what happened on my planet? I thought of that too, but I doubt it. Anomalies should leave an energy trace for millions of years. And this one doesn't have any? Exactly. I finished my breakfast and shrugged. Well, the universe is full of mysteries. That's also right, but there's one more mystery we have here. Another one? Juno brought up the latest data collected overnight. You know, I've always sent a signal before we go to a planet, to see if its inhabitants can receive it. We've done that many times now. Most of the time, there's no reply. Either the civilization isn't advanced enough, or there's just no intelligent life. I was sure there wouldn't be a reply this time, either since the UN 212 system or Elon, where Astaria has been long declared inhabited. But they sent a reply. Juno pointed a holographic chart showing the reply loud and clear. My eyebrows shot up in surprise. Oh shit, for real, dog? There was just one signal. In one of the most common old Astaria languages. The hologram formed words written in symbols I didn't recognize. Juno kindly translated them. This is Vala. The planet is closed to visitors. Please turn back. That's crazy. What the hell? And what's Vala? Is it the planet's name? Juno sighed. No idea. I tried by sending more signals, but no reply. I checked if we can connect to their satellites, but there simply aren't any. The only other explanation I have is that they are in some kind of stealth mode. Do you think someone could have just settled on the planet? No idea, but we have to be careful. It would be really bad if there was an anti-air system and we ran into it. Juno snorted. And because of that, we should run a technical checkup on the ship and the jet. I've noticed that some systems aren't working as they should, and we don't want any unpleasant surprises. Pixie will analyze the ship systems for the next day, and I'll check the equipment. Let's hope we find any problems before the expedition. Alright, I'll help you. Then we'll train, if you don't mind. Juno smiled and nodded, and we got to work. Almost the entire day was spent preparing for the new expedition. Every couple of hours, Juno tried sending more signals toward Astaria, but none got a reply. She took care of the most of the equipment. After all, she knew way more about it than I did. Despite my efforts over the last couple of years to learn the ship mechanics, it still didn't come easy. Just like all the sciences I once never even heard of, my civilization just never advanced enough to discover them. While she was busy, I decided to clean up, just to stay occupied and be useful. Our ship was big and needed constant upkeep, and even though Pixie handled most of the maintenance, Juno and I still had plenty of chores. I spent the next 3 hours cleaning the cabin, while Juno disappeared into the lab. We had lunch separately too. She ate in the lab, and I grabbed a bite before heading to the gym alone. We almost never skipped training, but sometimes I had to go solo while Juno was busy with more important things. Interesting. Oh, she tired. That's how most of the days went, and by evening we met up in the kitchen again. So how'd it go? Juno looked tired. I think I'm done with most of it. The engines are running at 78% efficiency. Not bad for a ship that's been through as much crap as ours. I raised an eyebrow out of slight concern. Only 78%? Why so low? Minor plasma flow fluctuations. I'll recalibrate the injectors later since it's nothing to worry about. But we need to visit a maintenance station soon. We fell silent, settling in for a short break. We'd visit maintenance stations a few times. They were huge platforms the size of a planet inhabited only by robots. You could just refuel and repair quickly, or stay for months if the ship needed major work. Hopefully that wasn't our case. You know what I was thinking? What? I'm so sick of frozen food. Let's cook something ourselves. Juno sounded genuinely enthusiastic, despite her fatigue. But I raised an eyebrow. We hadn't cooked much in the last 2... That's crazy. Not cooking for the last 2 years would drive me insane. I will at least try to cook my own food. Unusually, we bought frozen food at stations and Pixie handled the cooking. The food was varied, since we shopped in different galaxies and each had something unique to offer. So the galley was well stocked with rations with a few crates of frozen food managed by Pixie and not requiring any culinary skill. Cooking from scratch on a spaceship was always pretty energy intensive, and it was easy to ruin unfamiliar or totally unknown ingredients. But since Juno wanted to try something new and more ambitious tonight, I don't mind. But just in case, I asked, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Juno was all fired up about it and soon came back from the cargo hold with a box of supplies from the station we visited recently. "Yeah, I'm sure. I'm already sick of Pixie's culinary masterpieces." "No offense, Pixie." Immediately, Pixie's voice sounded overhead. "I'm not offended." Totally. 100%. That's funny. That's actually pretty funny. Anyway, there are vegetables and fruits from the planet... Jesus Christ. YHQ-11, which is famous for its root crops. Interesting. A smile lit up Juno's helmet. We started cooking, though I did most of the work, mainly because my planet actually had a culture of food preparation. But on the Protogen homeworld, cooking was considered a menial task that was beneath the Protogens and their creators. That's crazy. And because of that, Juno had never needed to cook, thanks to having access to advanced technology. Since many civilizations in the universe had cuisines, Juno knew what it was, understood the concept, and she studied them for years. But she could still mess up even the simplest things. I didn't mind, of course. She was trying hard, trusting me to take the lead. I didn't exactly know how to cook either. I'd never been allowed to. Oh yeah, because he was like a prodigy or something, and then all his people in the village literally did everything for him, which is crazy. But I seen my mother cook, and I knew what it was. For me, it wasn't just words in a catalog. It used to be an ordinary part of my people's life. In the end, we even managed to pull it off. In front of us were 2 plates full of something strange, but at least it smelled good. You think it's... That's not a good question. If you're cooking with your partner or with a friend or someone, like a roommate, and it's like in a scenario where your first time cooking something, even if you finish cooking and you have to question yourselves, you think it's edible is a bad start. Juno grinned slyly. Only one way to find out. I jokingly squeezed my eyes shut, as if I was about to swallow poison, and finally took a bite of the food. To my surprise, it turned out pretty good. We started eating, discussing the unusual flavors of the dish as we went. Pixie didn't miss the chance to add a remark. "Now we'll see if you get poisoned or not. Keep in mind, I might not have the right medicine for this kind of poisoning." Juno and I laughed. "Sorry, Pixie. I promise we'll eat your food tomorrow." That's funny. When it was time to sleep, I found Juno on the command deck. She was sitting in the captain's chair, staring out into the vastness of the universe with her tablet in hand. "Nothing again?" Juno looked at me over her shoulder and shook her head. "Nothing. Just silence." As if I imagined it all. I nodded, sitting down beside her in a neighboring chair. The navigation panel glowed with a gentle, muted light. I asked quietly in the settling silence. "Besides the device, do you think we'll find anything? Or anyone else on this planet?" Juno shrugged, still gazing at the stars. "Honestly, I'm not so sure anymore." I snorted. "Don't worry, we'll be ready. Maybe if someone's out there, they won't be hostile." Hard to say. The reply was pretty hostile. Like a warning. Well, that's the spirit of adventure, isn't it? Taking your chances with the unknown. Exactly. Unless we got atomized. Damn, that is a interesting perspective. I looked at her, a faint smile on my lips. "Since when you are the optimist? I thought that was my job." Juno giggled back. We both watched the stars, enjoying the silence and the soft, familiar hum of the ship. I just want to be prepared. I don't want anything to happen to you. This planet, it's a ghost. Honestly, this planet scares me a bit. Then don't go! Oh, come on. You're not afraid of anything. Besides, we've come too far to be scared now. We handle whatever is waiting for us. Juno didn't reply right away. Instead, she turned her gaze back to the stars, her expression thoughtful. Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe it's just an echo signal? Lost somewhere in space? You told me that's possible. Juno smiled again. Well, in space, anything is possible. We sat in silence for a while, the hum of the ship a gentle background for our thoughts. Here in the endless universe, it was easy to feel small, but in moments like this, with stars stretching out before us, in the quiet company of each other, it was also easy to feel like part of something bigger. In the morning, we met in the main compartment. Juno was already at the helm, carefully tracking any changes, any fluctuations outside, anything that could indicate danger. It had been a long time since we prepared this thoroughly for a new planet. Usually, there was no need. Our routine was honed by long experience. Land, grab the people, anomaly device, then leave. Of course, there was always risks, but they were of a different kind. Big predators on the latest planet, for example, or natural difficulties, temperature, weather, atmosphere, or the lack of it. Usually, if a planet had intelligent life, it was pretty undeveloped, like on Wyler, which we visited once, and we kept out of their way, leaving no trace of our presence. This time, we had no idea what to expect. Asteria was intimidating in its mystery. Morning. How are you feeling? Juno smiled at me. Fine. We're an hour out, by the way. Already in the star system. I looked ahead. Our ship was cruising steadily toward its target. To the right, the system's parent star shone. I looked over at the navigation panel and reading, Aeolian 1-8. Sounds welcoming. It's the biggest star in the Aeolian system. Although by galactic standards, it's categorized as a tiny one. The ship guided through the inky reaches of Aeolian, its smooth silver hull reflecting the faint glow of a solitary star. Inside, it was filled with quiet symphony of machinery, the steady pulse of life support, the occasional beep of navigation consoles, and the low hum of ion engines. Just another day in the endless rhythm of deep space. I leaned back in the chair, putting my feet up on the edge of the control panel. In front of Juno and me, a holographic star map hovered, a complex web of coordinates and trajectories, casting a pale blue glow on our faces. I tapped my chin, studying the map. I could now mostly decipher thanks to Juno. No more signals? No, just silence and emptiness. Though, if someone's there, they've already spotted us. We're in the radar range. We watched the radar screens in silence. That mysterious signal Juno had caught a couple days ago still bothered us. We were both on edge because of that. The planet had been considered dead for so long. Ahead in the cosmic blackness, the planet was now visible. The side we were approaching was dark. It hung in the void, utterly silent, adding to the gloom and anxiety. Juno had run a series of detailed scans and surface mapping, and double-checked the ship's systems to make sure it would be ready for a quick takeoff if needed. But she still looked tense. I'd never seen her like that before. I was used to being the pessimist and Juno, the optimist, a perfect balance. Juno pressed a button on the control panel, playing the message. A high, melodic female voice, calming warning us in a language I didn't know. Juno snorted. A couple hours ago, I detected a few objects around Asteria, probably old satellites. There's also a wandering asteroid in Sector 7, but otherwise, nothing. I shook my head. If they wanted to attack us, they would have done so by now, as we're really close. In half an hour, we entered the atmosphere. Speaking of that, Juno touched the control panel, her fingers moving over the holographic interface. Approaching the target. Slow the engines, Pixie, and prepare the jet. All set. Juno checked new readings. The atmosphere is stable, which means we can breathe there without helmets. Gravity's normal, too. I nodded tensely, watching the massive stony sphere, now so close it seemed we can touch it. Anything suspicious? Juno smirked. Other than everything I've already mentioned? No. No energy readings, no movement, at least nothing on the radar. I got up from the chair. Time to get ready to head out. The ship glided forward, placing itself in orbit of the planet. The engines dropped to a whisper. Juno got up too, and we headed for the jet. Once loaded up, we changed into our mission outfits and double-checked our gear. The jet moved forward, diving into the atmosphere. We sat in our seats, eyes glued to the massive view screen. Pixie's voice cut through the muffled jet noise. Temperature ranges from mild to tropical, depending on the region. No signs of intelligent life detected. What about the radar? Where do we land? Southwest. That's where the device is. But the radius is pretty large, almost like 100 kilometers. I frowned. Why so big? No idea. It should have narrowed when we got closer to the planet. Juno started fiddling with the control panel again while I watched. The clouds parted, and at first it looked like we were heading for a barren stone mountains, a blurry gray-brown mass of a distance. From a distance. They reminded me a little of the trash mountains on UQ22. Oh, Xena. Yep, the sister. There we go. That when I was mentioning, what happened to the sister? They mentioned it here. It reminded me a little of the trash mountains on the UQ22XJ. Dude, these fucking planet names, bro. Jesus Christ. The planet that Xena lives on, but only from afar. The closer we got, the clearer the buildings became. Are those buildings? Juno frowned. Yes. A city, or what's left of it. Can we land here? We sat down on the roof here. The jet shuddered, slowly settled on the flat roof of the massive high-rise, like the ones I've seen on some planets we visited for supplies. As Juno had told me, these were homes. Each could house thousands upon thousands of living beings. What is this, China? Pixie repeated. No signs of biological life detected. The jet landed. We got up and headed to the hatch. Juno looked tense, worried. Now I understand why. This place truly felt strange. We both had a bad feeling. Stepping onto the roof, we looked around. All we could see were more roofs, just like this one. We have to walk from here. I don't want us crashing the jet into something. The landing wasn't exactly smooth. Strange that the anomaly device is hidden here in the center of a huge city. Usually, they were in the remotest corners of the planet. Juno shrugged. Well, there's no one to hide it from here. I guess that's proof enough that no one's here. I walked to the edge of the roof and looked down. The view was unsettling. A deserted, long dead city. Or as Juno said, what was left of it. Everything was covered in moss and yellowing grass. It must have been autumn here. Broken windows, empty frames, everything so abandoned. So lifeless. Yet once millions, billions of living, thinking beings lived here. I got chills down my spine from thinking about it. Juno turned to me. We need to be careful, so don't split up. It's easy to get lost here, and we might run into animals. Animals? This is a desert. Insects maybe, but animals? There's no food, no water. Somehow I doubt there'd be... That's what I'm saying. Somehow I doubt there are any animals here. Not even birds. Well, maybe we scared them off. Let's wait and see. I looked at Juno, her helmet reflecting worry. You still think there's something here, don't you? I don't know, but we shouldn't let our guard down. I couldn't help but smirk, as if we ever did. Pixie, who had been quietly scanning the area this whole time, spoke up again. No, threats detected. You're good to go. I took a deep breath. The air was dry, with a hint of oxidized metal, moss, and dust. The sky was heavy, with a dull orange haze letting only weak sunlight pass through it. Ahead, the city loomed. Jagged towers of blackened alloy, their facades dwarfed by time, leaning like broken teeth. Half-collapsed bridges spanned the empty chimes that used to be bustling streets. Now only the wind wandered through the ruins. We'd never seen a planet like this before. Usually it was just islands of nature in an endless cosmos. But here too, there was once a life, but little of it remained. Once before, the ship had teemed with light, voices, the hum of civilization, at heights my kind couldn't even imagine. Then it was all gone. The whole planet turned to lifeless stone. A grave we were now walking across. Hard to believe anyone ever lived here. Yeah, I don't think that much time has passed since everything died out. Maybe even a few hundred years. Time's a relevant thing in space. Doesn't look like there was a war or anything. All the buildings are intact. If someone had dropped a bomb, those massive towers wouldn't have survived. Juno's radar beeped. Good news is the radius dropped to 10 kilometers, so we're going to have to walk. Why the sudden drop? Not sure. Maybe interference from landing? Nah, someone's here, bro. I didn't like it. There had never been interference before, but I didn't like arguing. Juno and I went down an extremely long staircase and finally found ourselves in the middle of an empty, long, abandoned street. Everything was overgrown with moss and grass. The roads were perfectly clean, no sign of formal activity, as if someone had carefully cleaned them before the entire population has vanished into thin air. I carefully stepped along the cracked sidewalk, bits of stone crushing under my boots. Odd, doesn't look like a massacre. More like everyone just left. Juno snorted. Left the planet? We kept coming across signs, faded almost white with age, written in intricate looping script. the language that was once echoed through these streets. Have you ever heard of something like this? A whole planet just vanishing? Juno shook her head. No, I never heard of anything similar. You said yourself that they were advanced. So why didn't they send a distress signal? Maybe they were afraid of other races would find out what kind of mess Asteria was in and use it as a chance to take over. Maybe the locals were real paranoids who always thought someone was out to get them. In any case, we have to keep moving. Juno nodded and we kept going, moving almost silently through the dead streets. The city watched us in silence, its dark, empty windows like eyes. As we moved forward, we saw no sign of life. You were right, this place is really creepy, Juno smirked. Told you. There are a lot of ghost planets in space, most of them unknown, but this one? I don't know why, but I feel like there's something here. Just a hunch. Or someone! Not something, someone. Did you notice we haven't seen a single living thing? No birds, no bugs, nothing. That's weird, too, even though there's still some sort of planets here. We kept moving, following the radar. The city was enormous, and I almost regretted leaving the jet behind. Suddenly I stopped, catching a silhouette out of the corner of my eye. Juno? What's that? I pointed to figure standing motionless on the sidewalk. My hand instinctively went to my rifle. Juno tensed, moving toward the target. We approached, and I felt a wave of dread. Damn, it's just an old robot. Oh, there's robots here? That's crazy. In the shadow, I could see it really was an old, long, dead robot, like a humanoid lump of metal. Who left it here? I think the robots remained after the population died out, and then just broke down over time. But we left the robot and moved on. I didn't know how much time had passed, but I felt my legs starting to ache. We didn't walk these kind of distances every day. Most of our travels were spent on the ship. We're almost there. Yeah, I can feel it. Juno smirked. According to the radar, the anomaly device is somewhere nearby, in the closest building. Right here. She pointed to one of the houses, a 4-story building overgrown with thick moss. Great. Let's go and get this over with already. I really don't like it here. At least it's some variety in our routine. We entered the building and began sweeping the floors. Usually you could literally feel the anomaly device energy. It was like a faint vibration spreading in all directions. Of course, we never got too close, otherwise our remains would have been drifting in space, along with the debris of a destroyed planet long ago. But even at a safe distance, the vibration could be felt. It was so subtle that only years of experience taught me to notice it. After searching the first floor, then the second and third, I realized I didn't feel anything, as if the device wasn't here at all. Are you sure it's here? Juno started to suspect something was wrong too. Yeah, that's what the radar says. I don't get it. She started fiddling with the radar, her fingers running over the holographic screen. The map of the city was empty, not a hint of a signal from the anomaly device. I swallowed nervously. Could it have moved? That had never happened before. No, that wouldn't make sense. It's never moved. It's set in a specific place to gather energy. Are you sure it was here? Juno fell silent, thinking. It should have been. My systems detected the anomaly even before we approached the planet. And as we got closer, the signal was still there. This is nonsense. We stared silently at the map. The radar was desperately searching for a signal. I don't like this shit, not one bit. This has never happened before, Juno. Panic started to build in my chest. What were we supposed to do now? Deep down, I just wanted to leave everything and get out of here. Maybe we weren't meant to save this planet. We waited tensely for a few moments. There! The signal's back! A new point flashed on the map, a kilometer south of us. Are you sure we should go there? What if it's a trap? Doubt flashed across Juno's helmet, but only for a couple seconds. I don't think so. Maybe the radar's just glitching. Either way, we can check the spot. It's not far, and if we don't find anything, we'll call the jet. The radar had never glitched before, but I kept quiet about that to avoid adding to the tension. What if that bastard's waiting for us there? We're not ready for a fight. Juno sighed. I know, but we can't leave the device here. Brother, I know, but we can't leave the device here. We can't let it gather even more energy. Let's check it out, and if things go bad, we retreat. Okay? I was still unsure, a sense of impending doom twisted my insides, but Juno was right. We had to get the anomaly device, and that meant we couldn't back down now. Never back down, never what? Never give up. Fine. But if anything happens, we leave right away. No hero acting. I know, I promise. With that, we agreed. Leaving the building, we headed further into the ruins of the city. The air was thick with sour notes of rust, stone, and metal, making my throat itch for a while. The wind swayed the tall grass, and the peaks of tall towered houses pierced the orange sky above us. their jagged outlines cutting into the horizon. Juno walked ahead of me, her steps silent despite the crunch of stones under my boots. She didn't look back at me, but I knew she was watching my every move, ready if something went wrong. And I was ready to counter any external threat at any moment. We watched out for each other, and now I kept glancing around, afraid to miss any danger. We're almost there! She pointed ahead and I followed her gesture. The street opened up into a vast square with a statue in the center. Besides moss all over it, it looked brand new, as if time hadn't touched it, as if even the moss parted around it without touching it. The statue resembled a woman of my kind wearing a robe. What the hell is that? Looks like a monument. It's amazing that it hasn't been destroyed over time. We examined the statue, puzzled. A faint smile rested on its serene face. My gaze fell on the text beside it, engraved with symbols, rounded loops, and lines forming a language I didn't recognize. There's an inscription. I pointed my wrist computer at the symbols and quickly translated it. Vala does not sleep, Vala dreams. What does that mean? Who is this Vala? The word was in the warning signal, remember? This Vala speaking. Sounds like a name. Maybe it's a local deity? Or a ruler? Juno shook her head thoughtfully. That's quite unlikely. From what I've heard about Asteria, the intelligent species living here abandoned religion, cults, and beliefs a long time ago. They developed quickly and preferred science. Maybe it's not a person's name? Maybe it's the name of the country. For example, just like the Helldivers. Before Asteria completely closed off all channels in its airspace, their society was united in one state. Calteria? The Catarians spoke one language, except for some regions that kept dialects, a mix of the main language and extinct ones. Do you think Calteria could have split into countries? Maybe they had a war or something like that long before extinction. I don't know. I don't think it's a country. I grunted. Agreed, it really does sound like a name. We stood silently for a few moments, staring at the statue which silently gazed back at us. What do you think happened here? Do you have any guesses? Any at all? Juno shrugged. Honestly, I've never seen anything like this. I'll say it was a virus, but it's still strange. Look at the streets. Everything is just as it was back when these beings lived. Even the things inside the buildings are untouched, as if they just left. Honestly, Doggo, I have no idea what the hell happened here. A distant metallic creak echoed through the ruins, as if the huge buildings were sighing. Let's go this way. We're almost there. Juno pointed the way, and we continued. Rounding the square, we reached a huge building. It towered over us like a skeleton of some ancient beast, its massive spirals reaching upward. Its walls itched with centuries-old streaks of rain and wind. Whatever it once was, a government center, a temple, a marketplace, now only echoes its grandeur remained. Entering the building, we found ourselves in the vast, spacious hall. On the wall in front of us, the same words were engraved. Vala does not sleep, Vala dreams. Is the anomaly device here? Though I still didn't feel like the unfamiliar vibration. Yes, somewhere nearby. Just need to... Oh crap. I turned to Juno. What is it? Damn it, the signal's gone again. She pointed to the map. There was nothing on it. My heart clenched with anxiety again. We need to get out of here. This all reeks of trouble. Call the jet. This time, Juno didn't argue. She raised her hand to her helmet. Pixie, we need a jet in the next few minutes. Few minutes? Only silence answered. Pixie, are you there? I repeat, we need the jet. We're heading back to the ship. Silence again. Goosebumps ran down my... What's going on? Why isn't it responding? Juno opened a hologram, her fingers sliding through the air. No signal. It can't hear us. What do you mean there is no signal? I don't know either. We both went silent. Shit, the signal just disappeared. That can't be. Juno! It couldn't have broken or... It couldn't. The device works just as before, but there's no signal. And the radar isn't working. I cursed, kicking a pebble at my feet. What do we do? Stay here for now. We need to rest a bit, and I'll try to reboot all the devices. If that doesn't work, we'll head back to the rooftop. The jet should be nearby. Maybe the buildings are blocking the signal. You want to stay here? I pointed at the creepy dark building. Brother, if there's anything else here besides us, it'll be safer inside. Besides, I remember the route here. If we go somewhere else, we could get lost. The thought of staying in this abandoned place didn't appeal to me at all, but Juno was right. We need a shelter for the night. And right now, having a roof over our heads was enough. Beside, I dropped my backpack at the foot of the stairs and sat on the floor, not caring that the stone beneath me was cold. I was damn tired after this day. We walked around the city almost non-stop. Sure, we were about to reach our goal. And in the end, it turned out we'd just been wandering around. Juno followed suit, dropping her backpack to the floor. She climbed the cracked steps with effortless grace, pausing on the threshold to peer into the shadows inside. Seems empty. I don't hear any sound. I groaned, stretching and working the stiffness from my neck. Sitting down, I pulled out a ration from my backpack. And you said we wouldn't need it. Juno smirked. Sometimes you're right after all. Practice shows it's pretty often the case. Alright, sorry, you were right. We should have turned back soon. Don't apologize. Who could have known all our tech would fail? It wasn't cold, so we didn't need a fire, and just pulled out a few compact lamps. Inside it was a cooler, the air thick with dust and a faint sour scent of long dread machinery. The ceiling loomed high above us. The broken where chunks of debris had fallen through, leaving uneven stripes of the setting sun. The floor was a mosaic of broken glass and twisted metal. Opening one of the energy bars we stocked up on at the stations, I asked, "Have you felt like we're being watched today?" Juno nodded. Yes. Wait, seriously? And you didn't see anything? I thought I was just being paranoid. Well, in places like this, it's not unusual. But it doesn't mean we're really being watched, at least. I haven't seen any signs of surveillance. It's like the city itself is watching. These walls, they were built to last and have outlived their creators. Ghost planets carry a certain energy, and it's not something physical or like an archive. It's more of a feeling. It's hard to explain in words, but I think you get what I mean. How many ghost planets have you seen? Just thought of it for a moment. A couple. Maybe even a dozen. You know, no species dies out for a reason. There's always a cause. Sometimes it's natural conditions, but with intelligent species, it's usually self-destruction. We discussed it many times, yeah. War is something that appears almost in any civilization, according to your worlds. Most of the cases, yeah, it's just war. No matter how intelligent a species is, they don't always realize they're dooming themselves. They fight for resources, land, power, but in the end, it's the same. The planet survives, but its people become history. But the universe never stands still, and new life arises where the old has fallen. I guess that's the reason I accepted this rule of the universe. Even if something dies or gets destroyed, it always leads to the creation of some new life. But we should still fight to protect the existing life, right? Absolutely. Juno smiled. I finished my bar and made myself comfortable on the cold stone floor. But back to our current mission. To sum everything up, we're now stuck in the middle of a ghost planet with no ways to contact our jet and don't know if we're alone here or not. And we also can't find the anomaly. Juno chuckled. Maybe in a couple hours the transmitters will work again. Can you try calling Pixie again? We should try to regulate, just in case it might work. Juno nodded. And for the next few minutes, she tried in vain to reach Pixie through the communicator, but all attempts failed, just as I thought. What should we do now? I don't know, doggo. Oh well, we're doomed. It was nice knowing you. While we were sitting in the silence, thinking of a plan to get out there, the sun slowly dropped toward the horizon, painting the sky pink-orange. Ooh, that would be a nice sight to see. At some point, my eyelids felt so heavy that it became harder and harder to keep them open. I stabbed myself back several times, forcing my body to work, to pay attention to my surroundings. But exhaustion rode in waves, gradually dragging me into darkness. I didn't realize how I managed to nod off. It felt like I closed my eyes for just a moment. But when I came to, a sudden flash exploded in my head. It was light. Light was coming from the street. I blinked and immediately woke up, sitting up sharply on the floor. My heart pounded in my chest, like it was trying to break free. My mouth was dry, my head so heavy, it felt like a ton. I looked around, but Juno wasn't nearby. Panic shut up my throat. Juno? Juno? I stood up, dusting myself off. There was nothing around. No backpack with supplies, no portable mini lamps. We set up for the stop. The last thing I remember was sitting here with Juno, talking as she tried to reach Pixie, and then darkness. I remembered the weight of exhaustion pressing on me, like something physical, and then everything vanished, like someone flipped a switch. And now? I looked down at the cold, smooth floor and noticed there was no sign of an old, cracked mosaic of debris we walked over. No dust, no cracks, no moss. The floor was untouched. I jerked back, sucking in a shaky breath. The air was different, cleaner, fresher, with none of the old mustiness or age. The walls around me were intact, their surfaces shimmering with a faint metallic shine, untouched by time or decay. High above, the vaulted ceiling was also clean, seamless and whole, lit by beams of soft artificial light from the street. A thought flashed through my mind. There was a different building, and I instantly corrected myself. No, it was the same building, just it was no longer ruined. What the hell? Juno! My voice broke nervously. No answer came, so I turned around, scanning the vast hall. She wasn't here. The reception desk, now intact, its surface polished to a mirror shine, was empty. Above it, softly illuminated in a pale blue glow, were the voids Vala does not sleep. Vala dreams. My breathing quickened, What the hell had just happened? I reached out for the weapon in my belt, only to find it was gone. Shit. I looked around once more and headed towards the exit to the street. And then I froze. The city had changed just as much. Broken spires were whole again, their surfaces alive, shimmering with light. The streets were clean. The moss of plants that had grown over the facades for centuries had vanished, replaced by smooth paths. The city looked as if nothing had ever happened, as if it was still full of life. But there was still no one here. No voices, no movement, only the city, perfect and silent. What the? Dago! I spun around sharply. Juno stood behind me, her helmet showing an expression of worried mixed with relief. Damn it, where were you? I nearly lost my mind. She hurried closer, quickly closing the distance between us. I don't know. I walked in the middle of the street. You fell asleep too? What happened? I don't remember falling asleep. I was still trying to reach Pixie, but damn, I don't remember anything. We looked around again. You see this too? What the hell is going on here? Why has the city changed? I see it, and I have no idea what's happening either. She scanned the restored city. The sky above was violet and dark with not even a single star. Where are all the stars? Juno frowned. I don't know. Maybe you just can't see them because of the light. Light pollution. Light pollution. The whole city was illuminated by streetlights. Here and there, neon signs in the local language flickered. But other than that, emptiness. No vehicles, not a single sound that would tell us anyone was here. We fell asleep and woke up here, but what is this place even? Juno shook her head. I doubt we just fell asleep. I never had passed out that quickly, especially in this situation. I'm telling you, I was trying to contact Pixie, trying to reboot the devices, and then suddenly, nothing. We didn't just fall asleep. Something apparently shut us off. Upon hearing that, my feelings of easiness resurged. Something? Or someone? Gasp. Maybe it's some other anomaly that's not related to the device, but we would have recognized it before the radars. We would have, unless it was of a completely different origin than the anomalies we encountered, or what? Or someone was trying to interfere. I looked at her, puzzled. You think someone deliberately broke it? More like hacked it. So remember how we were searching for the device and the signal vanished and reappeared somewhere else? Or how the jet glitched when we landed? I think we were hacked before we even entered the atmosphere. We had to find a way out of here. Let's go. We walked down the street. The air was too still, too quiet. Not a single breath of wind. The tall spires, once like weather skeletons, now rose upward in gleaming perfection, their surfaces brought to life by any tiny red blinking lights. It seemed as if any moment someone would step out from around a corner, a random passerby, but there was no one. Juno walked beside me, her posture tense, her sharp gaze scanning the empty streets. Your thoughts on what it might be? Any guesses at all? Anything? She sighed. I don't know. Maybe it's an illusion, but I doubt it. Everything feels too real. I'd say we were poisoned by some plant fumes, but that wouldn't explain all our tech failing. Plus, it all looks way too real for a hallucination. I swallowed nervously. Okay, so it's not an illusion. Then what? What else could it be? Did we end up in the past? A time rift? Or something like that? Juno shook her head. No one could just travel through time. Well, technically there are black holes in space. They destroy everything, including time and space. But there aren't any in the solar system. And if there were, we'd know. But it looks like we all just jumped a couple of centuries back, right to the moment the local species died out. I know we couldn't have just fallen into a time rift. It's not that simple. We were knocked out and then, I don't know, something happened. A warm breeze swept down the street, carrying a scent of ozone and something else almost sweet. Goosebumps ran over my skin. The eerie, dense silence of a world frozen in place rang in my ears. I reached out and ran my fingers along the wall of the nearest building. The surface was cool and smooth, not a speck of dust, no signs of weathering, as if it had been built yesterday. Okay, if this isn't the past, and it isn't a dream, then what could it be? I don't know yet. We just have to find out ourselves. How? We don't even know where we're going. There's no point of standing still. We have to explore the city. Maybe we'll find something. Or someone. Or even get more lost. I sighed, but followed after Juno anyway. I didn't want to let her out of my sight even for a few meters. At any moment, some inexplainable shit could have happened again and separate us. The street stretched on endlessly, untouched, polished. Just wrong. The buildings felt even more unsettling than when we were ravaged by time. Our footsteps echoed off the empty walls, breaking the suffocating silence with their loud sounds. I kept glancing at the display on my wrist, but the screen was off. Not just inactive, a black, empty screen. No signal. The radio is just static. Neither the navigator nor the communicators. Nothing works. Juno checked her equipment again. My weapon's gone too. Mine as well. She looked up at the sky. Or where the sky should have been. The tall buildings leaned inward, their facades swaying slightly, as if breathing. Still no stars. We could try to get to the roof. The view would be better. I shrugged. We don't have many options. All our tech is dead. We headed towards a tall building, reaching straight into the sky. The window glass was intact, reflecting the street lights. We could have tried going in here. Suddenly I felt a jolt, a vibration right under my feet. At first it was weak, then it began to intensify. A deep, resonating hum pierced the street to the bone. What the hell? I grabbed the nearest thing I could, a lamppost. Juno spread her feet, trying to keep her balance. Earthquake? That's all we need? The city, and it seemed the whole planet shook again. I was about to say something, then everything was silent and stopped. People. And a second later, the empty space around us filled with figures. They looked like shadows. Tall, thin, their outlines blurry at the edges like a half-remembered dream. They moved silently, gliding along the streets in rows right past us. At some point they stopped, and as if they noticed us, one of the shadows turned, looked straight at me. My breath caught, my heart dropped to my feet. I couldn't look away. I stared. Its face was smooth. No features, no eyes, no mouth, just a canvas of smoky darkness. Slenderman's cousin, not gonna lie. It raised a long arm, stretching its fingers toward me, and I was suddenly paralyzed. Doggo! Juno suddenly grabbed my hand, pulling me toward her. The vision faded. The figures vanished. The street was empty again. The hum under our feet was gone. What the? Let's get out of here! Run! And we did just that. The streets twisted. Just a second ago, we were racing down a wide, untouched boulevard. Oh, hell nah. But suddenly, the wall shifted. Smooth metallic surfaces warped like living flesh, and the path ahead narrowed, turning into an alley, squeezing us with its walls. The streetlights dimmed, plunging us into near total darkness. Juno stopped abruptly, so suddenly I nearly crashed into her back. I barely had time to register the danger before I saw it. There, ahead, a movement, a shadow, blacker than the interstellar void. It detached itself from the wall several dozen meters in front of us, and it stood there after it stopped. It was huge, about 4 meters tall. The shadow had no definite shape. It was just a withering mass of darkness, pulsing like a living ink blot. Then it lunged forward. Juno reacted faster than I did. She shoved me aside, twisting her whole body to meet the creature head-on. Her fist clenched to darkness, while her hand passed through it. The shadow ripped, absorbing the blow like water absorbs a stone. Then it struck back. A lump of pure darkness shot out and slammed into Juno, sending her crashing into an alley wall. She hit the stone, and the previously untouched surface cracked. Juno! I rushed to her, grabbing her hand faster than the shadow could approach. I'm fine. We scrambled to our feet. I don't have it. I reached for my gun, forgetting I didn't have one, and cursed. We need to run. Let's go. The shadow turned to me and lunged forward. I barely managed to dodge it, rolling aside as a blade-like extension sliced through the air where my head had just been. The next moment, I heard a loud clang. Juno grabbed into the alley wall and, with a roar, tore off a jagged panel, throwing like a disc right into the center of the shadow. The creature scattered for a moment, a nasty screech hitting my ears, but the next instant, the darkness reformed into a clump. Come on, doggo, let's go! I didn't hesitate. I dashed forward with Juno, and we ran. We ran as fast as we could, till we realized the creature wasn't following us. Stopping in another alley, we froze, trying to catch our breath. We listened, but there was nothing, just silence. Breathing hard, I leaned against the wall. Juno stood next to me, her chest rising and falling rapidly, her armor covered in dust, and a scrape visible on her arm. Are you hurt? Juno shook her head. Nothing serious, just a bruise. She looked up, scanning the alley. What was that thing? Have you seen anything like it before? Juno shook her head. No, never. A low, trembling moan echoed through the city, not from the walls, not from the ground, but from everywhere. Juno's hand grabbed my forearm, helping me quickly get to my feet. We need to get out of here now. Yeah, getting out. I get that. But where to? As if on cue, the darkness at the far end of the alley twisted. Then another shadow burst free, and another, and another. Damn it! What the hell is wrong with this place? And we ran again. The shadows glided behind us, their outlines wavering like vultures of tar. Over the frantic pounding of my heart, I could only hear the loud thud of our feet. The shadows made no sound, but the presence was palpable in the air. With each turn, the city itself seemed to change, morphing like a kaleidoscope. Walls shifted, passages narrowed, and untouched streets became labyrinths of metal and stone, ready to snap shut at any moment. Then I saw movement ahead again. It was a figure that didn't look like the shapeless monsters at this time. No, it looked like something alive. It almost looked like my own kind, as far as I could make out from a distance. At the very end of the street, this figure stood in our path, a silent silhouette, as if it was waiting for us. I didn't know what it was or who, but at that moment, I was ready to accept help from anywhere. The silhouette slowly and deliberately raised a hand, waving at us like an old friend. "Do you see that?" My voice was breathless, as breathing ragged. "Yes, let's go." We didn't have time to ask questions as the shadows were closing in. The figure turned and rushed into the arched doorway of a nearby building, a low structure topped with a dome, glowing with those same local symbols. The door was slightly open, as if inviting us in. Whoa! We followed the silhouette and burst into a small building just as the shadows closed in behind us. A coldness radiated from them, burning my back and the back of my neck. Juno slammed the door with such force the wall shook. Inside it was a bright, quiet, empty. Once we caught our breath a bit, we looked around for a savior, but there was no one else in the building. No sound, no shape, no sense of anyone's presence. Only warm, still air, the faint scent of something familiar. I frowned, trying to remember what the smell was. Juno asked tensely, "Where did it go?" I didn't answer. I couldn't get that scent out of my mind. There was something painfully familiar about it, but I couldn't grab the memory. What was that anyway? Maybe there's a second exit? But the only door we could see was the one we came through. I checked the far wall. On its perfectly white surface was a single symbol we hadn't seen before. A jagged ruin, faintly glowing with a soft, lish light. You think those things can't get in here? Gina shrugged. I don't know. I don't want to celebrate too early, but it looks like they can't enter this place. Maybe it's some kind of protective symbol. I arched an eyebrow. A protective symbol? That sounds stupid. I know, but at least it stopped those creatures. I dropped into a small, cozy crouch. This place is just crazy. We need to get out of here as soon as possible. We'll get killed by those things outside eventually. Ignoring my pessimistic mood, Juno walked further in, exploring the room. A few tables that looked like they just hosted guests. The pleasant warm light of lamps. A few armchairs. She approached the wall with the symbol and touched the surface, and immediately a hologram appeared before her. What's that? Looks like a control center. A control center for what? Juno slid her fingers over the panel, and after a few seconds her helmet changed to an expression of shock. Oh shit. Her voice offered zero comfort. I knew that tone. It was never a good sign. What? What is it, Juno? I've read about this many times, but I think that Asterians had come this far. Juno, don't speak in riddles. Explain what you mean. Juno pulled up her sleeve, looking where there should have been a bruise after the fight with the shadow. But there was nothing, not even a hint of a scrap. How is that possible? You regenerate faster than I do. But not this fast. It's not about regeneration. Damn it, this explains everything. Great, now explain it to me. Juno took a deep breath. You already know about artificial intelligence. We have Pixie as an example. Almost every advanced civilization comes to an idea of creating some sort of artificial intelligence. Or some want to go further. I've heard the civilizations that voluntarily cross over to another world, or rather a digital reality with their minds in it. It's very popular on planets where the population grows too fast. Thanks to AI, governments create entire worlds where anyone can cross over. Basically, they upload their consciousness into a computer. Usually only a part of the population makes the transition. It's a laborious process. Returning takes time, and if something goes wrong, someone outside needs to fix things or bring everyone back. The gears in my head started turning faster. Are you saying? Juno clapped her hands together. Exactly. That's what happened to our Asterians. They all crossed over to the other world called Vala. Vala is the name of the AI that runs the virtual world? Yes, but out there in the real world, everyone is gone. And that's because they're all here. So they're stuck here. From what we're seeing, something went wrong. Maybe something broke since there was no one left to oversee the simulation. This place shouldn't be like this. Okay, so Vala is an AI running this virtual world. But how did we end up here? That's the thing. An AI can exist in both worlds. Apparently, Vala is still present on the planet through satellites, through robots. Remembering those robots we saw? Most likely, Vala somehow put us to sleep. They connected us to the world. But why? No idea. Maybe it thought we'd fix it. I shook my head. If it wanted help, why didn't it just ask? And don't you remember that signal? It didn't want us to come here. Or on the contrary, it set a trap for us. Huh? Think about it. A research ship flies by. Suddenly a warning signal comes from a long dead planet. Who wouldn't want to check it out? A person with common sense? It gave a sour chuckle. Nobody would fall for this. But here we are. We're here because of the device, Juno. Do you think it knows about the anomaly? I don't know. The anomaly doesn't affect non-living objects. Maybe Vala doesn't even know about it. I got up from the couch. And now I want to get out of here even more than before. So this thing hacked our equipment. Yes, it cut off all our exits. Doubt it did it, but of pure hospitality. Juno nodded. You're right. In any case, we need to get out of here. How? Every such world has a control station. This is how you enter and exit. But they can be hidden. Luckily, we have this. Juno pointed out on the panel on the wall. And what is it? Still not 100% sure, but maybe some kind of operational terminal. But I think there might be a map in the system. I'll try to get it for us. I nodded, shifting nervously from foot to foot. You think it'll take long? I don't know. You can rest for now. In any case, I'll try to be as fast as I can. The next few hours is crazy. Next few hours, I just waited. In this place, we were safe. As Juno later explained, it was one of the communication centers. Before the glitch in this world, people would contact the outside here, send messages, or contact the administration. I can't wrap my head around how a whole planet could just end up here. Did no one really want to stay in reality? Juno's still working on the pen and shrug. We don't know how long it took for everyone to make the transition. It probably took centuries. And I think propaganda helped too. That's crazy. I nodded in understanding. Vala does not sleep. Vala dreams. Exactly. I think this place was heavily promoted by the government. That's crazy. But why would the government want that? Who knows what their motive was? Finally, Juno finished. Found it. Right here. To the west of the city. We need to get there. I eyed the exit with suspicion. You think it'd be safe to go out? We have no choice. I managed to link the map to my computer, though nothing else is working. Still no signal from Pixie. We'll take what we can get. The holographic map glowed faintly on Juno's wrist, an indicate web of thin roads sketching blue patterns in the air, each line, each curve forming a symmetric portrait of the city. Streets, transport arteries, massive buildings all converged on a single point in the very center. That's the place where we stopped, remember? Yes, that's the center. In reality, it was Vala's main control center. Most likely the servers are underground. That's probably where what's left of the residence is too. You mean bodies? Juno nodded. That's creepy. Juno's long fingers glided over the map. So we're going back to where we started. Looks like it. The tip of her finger stopped at a particular dense cluster of intersecting lines. There's another communication station here at this intersection. Let's plan out the route to pass it, in case we get attacked. Who's even attacking us? It's all a glitch. The program is falling apart and spawning these monsters. I leaned in, squinting in the flickering display. Well, it doesn't look too safe. Juno smirked. There's nothing safe here. We're literally inside a broken virtual world created by a broken AI with millions of sentient beings trapped inside. So where are they now? I think what we're seeing here are echoes of the local residents. And right now they're all here? Juno shook her head. Virtual worlds have many servers, which are like layers and levels of the virtual world. Most likely the rest of them are in as bad shape as this one. I'd rather not trust the map in this crazy place. Think Valhalla wants to confuse us? No idea. We have to be extra careful. Remember, the city can change. And if anything, head straight to the communication station. I nodded, instinctively checking my weapon, which still wasn't there. We went outside, watching our surroundings carefully, but there was no one, just silence. The streets looked the same as if no one had ever been here. Towering spires pierced the violet sky. A faint wind sometimes rushed between the buildings. We moved forward, trying to stick together, not losing sight of each other, not even for a second, constantly checking the intersections behind us. See anything unusual? Not yet. No vibrations, no sound. Who do you think helped us then? That silhouette seemed familiar, but I didn't get a good look. Juno shrugged. I rarely saw them. Maybe it was one of the locals. We walked on. The streets were motionless, letting us move forward. Suddenly, I again felt a slight tremor from somewhere underground. At that moment, symbols began to appear on the walls, their outlines changing as we passed, as if updating in real time. Something's starting. I see. We need to move faster. We picked up the pace, heading for the station. Soon a building with glowing door appeared ahead, bearing the now familiar symbol. After we entered, we finally relaxed a bit. Should we wait here? No point in waiting, we need to reach the control center. I'll update the map. Yuna approached the panel on the wall. While she worked and wandered around, the room was identical to the previous one, but this time I noticed a tablet left on the table. I picked it up, it immediately lit up. What's that? I didn't have time to answer. When I pressed the button, a holographic image that text appeared before me. The image was a woman, the same one whose statue we saw in the square. What is it? I have no idea. The tech isn't working. I can't translate. Juno came closer and her helmet was still working. First ruler of Castilla has been chosen. Vala. They chose an artificial intelligence as their ruler? What idiots. It says here the previous ruler was involved in a conspiracy with alien civilization. That's crazy. They no longer trusted their own people. Yeah, it is insane. But you said they hadn't contacted anyone for centuries. That's right. So, Vala orchestrated all of this to trick her way into power? Someone must have been spreading propaganda that they were about to be attacked. Then it all fits. If Vala seized power through deception, it would have been easy to convince the population to migrate to the other world. There's more here. It says that the only safe place in the new world where they can't be destroyed spent years convincing people they were about to be wiped out, and that the way she lured everyone in here. But for what? To create a world where she's a god? A chill ran down my spine. It's still not clear why we're here. I hope we don't have to find out. Alright, let's go. Our next stop is the center of this place. Leaving the shelter, we hurried on, moving quickly and quietly through the ghost city. Though there was no real point in being quiet, the city knew we were here, knew where we were going. I kept expecting the shadows to return for a reality around us to start haunting us again. But nothing happened. No sound, no movement, nothing that made us run for our lives again. With each step, we grew closer to the center, and the feeling of being watched intensified. The deeper we went, the more the city changed. The city's shifted buildings in some places looked like drawings, flat if on paper. The ground on our feet shimmered in blue and green tones. The closer we got to the center, the harder it became for the world to maintain the illusion of perfection in these decorations. The air grew heavier, inhuman, carrying the same scent I smelled in the shelter. At last, we reached the entrance to the transit tunnel. Not far beyond it, it was our goal. Doggo! I froze and turned around sharply. Watch it be like our family members or something. That'd be really funny. No one was there, but I could have sworn I heard a voice. It was as distant familiar as that scent. Doggo, are you okay? I blinked. Yeah, just... Did you hear that? Hear what? Juno looked at me with concern. Like someone... Doggo... Woo! There it is again. Juno looked around. I don't hear anything. I shook my head. Never mind. Maybe I imagined it. Are you sure you're okay? Of course, it was just the wind sounding weird. I didn't want to worry Juno, but she immediately knew I was lying. Don't believe what you hear, alright? We're almost there. I nodded, and we headed into the tunnel. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was following closely behind. It was a premonition, a faint vibration in the back of my head. I wanted to shrug off. Out of habit, I checked for my weapon again, but as before, it wasn't there. Strange that nothing's chasing us yet. You think it lost track of us? Juno shook her head. I don't think so. Vala knows we're here, knows where we're going. But if my knowledge of these worlds is still accurate, she can't see the center of the stations. What do you mean Vala can't see? They were made for people, but Vala is a robot. In every place like this, the station is invisible to the robot's host, because it's meant for humans to maintain them. And the closer we get to the center, the weaker her signal is on her radars. Something like that. We continued down into the tunnel. It sloped steeply downward, and the walls absorbed sound greedily. Our footsteps faded the moment our boots touched the surface, and our breathing seemed to freeze on our lips. Only the pounding of my heart still echoed in my ears. We're almost there, about 100 meters to go. Oh! Suddenly, out of nowhere, a fog appeared. I didn't realize what it was at first. Thick like a cloud, it filled the tunnel, blocking all visibility beyond a meter. Doggo, are you there? I'm here! Juno and I were holding hands, but the fog seemed to separate us in a second. I moved towards her voice, but there was nothing ahead. Doggo, where are you? Juno, head towards my voice. I am, but I can't see you. Her voice gradually faded, as if she was walking the other way. I tried following her, chasing the sound of her footsteps, hoping to catch up. The tunnel suddenly felt enormous. I couldn't find the walls or even the ceiling. Juno! My voice echoed through the fog, but then there was nothing. No response at all. Panicked, started twisting in my gut. I pushed through the fog, like wading through cotton, as it grew thicker and thicker until... Doggo! I spun around sharply. Behind me, just a few steps away, stood the figure, the one who led us to the shelter, who saved us from the shadows. I could only see the outline, but something in my heart clenched, trembled. I knew that voice. Now I knew who it belonged to. I took a step forward. It's the mother. It's his mother. It's the character's mother. It's the character's mother. I guarantee you, it's the character's mother. Doggo, sweetheart. I was her. I can never mistake that face. I knew it. Oh my god, I'm so good at predicting things. Mom? My breath caught in my throat. My nose stung. It was my mom. Just as I remembered her when I left the village. Be careful, beautiful, kind, with a soft, understanding smile on her face. How long had it been since I seen her? It felt like forever. Sweetheart, you've grown so much. You've become so big and strong. Her tone was exactly the same. Melodic, gentle. Mom, what are you doing here? I came to see you. I knew you'd find us, son. I knew I'd see you again. I couldn't control it. Tears welled up in my eyes. The wound left my parents' death had healed over the years of wandering. I'd accept the loss and come to terms with it. But the pain never really left. It still lived inside, like it does for anyone who's lost loved ones. And now, seeing my mom so close, just as she was on the day I ran away, it was a miracle. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry I ran away. Then, that I left you. Shh, don't apologize, sweetheart. You did everything right. Never blame yourself. But you died. We're alive. We're all alive here. Nah. I bit my lip until it hurt, with a wet, shaking breath escaping my mouth just a few seconds later. Mom, this can't be real. Of course it's real. And I'm real. We're all here, sweetheart. Don't you want to stay, now that we're finally found each other again? Part of my mind knew this was all an illusion. It is an illusion. But another part of it wanted, just for a second, to believe I could see them again. I can't stay. Juno and I, we have to help the others. We can't let the innocent die. That's our mission. Here in this world, there's no evil. So the both of you can stay with us and forget that's crazy. And forget your worries. Oh, if only you knew how much I dreamed of meeting Juno. You will introduce her to us, won't you? Your father and I have been waiting so long for you to come home. I clenched my fist. It had once been my dream to introduce Juno to my parents, to show them a world they couldn't have imagined. Sweetheart, stay with us. Stay with me. There are no villains here, no sickness or death. We'll be a family again. Why go back to the world? Why go back to wander around and hopelessly fighting someone you can't beat? Damn, this has gone deep. It's not your war, son, nor your responsibility. My mother reached out her hand and had a gentle, hopeful smile on her lips. I raised my hand, almost touching her palm, only a few centimeters away. I longed to see my family again, but I couldn't. With my heavy and broken heart, I knew for sure that this entrancing illusion of my long-departed mother was completely fake and empty, no matter how real it looked and sounded. She was impossibly beautiful, but inherently wrong. Sorry, Mom, but you're not really here. This place isn't real, and I can't stay. But I am real, sweetheart. I'm right in front of you. No, Mom, it's not you. I pressed my lips together, taking a step back, then another, then broke into a run. My eyes stung with tears. I ran until I suddenly crashed into something solid, moving toward me at full speed. Ouch, damn. Doggo, where were you? I was losing my mind. I was looking for you as well. Juno held me up. Come on, I found the way out of the tunnel. Juno's expression changed to a mild confusion after she looked at me for a brief moment. Wait, what happened to your face? Nothing, I'll tell you later. The tunnel started changing. We walked straight, then suddenly the corridor would twist, but Juno didn't slow down. Finally, we saw a faint light of street lamps ahead. Bursting outside, we found ourselves at the very building where we camp in the real world. It was tall, huge, perfect. This chapter's going so long, oh my god, I do have to say. The facade glowed with those same symbols. Vala does not sleep, Vala dreams. Juno grabbed my hand and ran inside. The reception desk was empty, so we hurried up to the stairs until we reached a huge hall packed with computers. Yes, we're here, just where we need to be. Stand here. Juno pointed at the small panel on the floor. I set everything up. Can you make it in time? Juno was already deep in her work. Of course, we got 10 seconds. Timer's on. Attention. Exiting simulation. Exiting simulation. 10, 9, 8. Juno stepped beside me and I grabbed her hand. Ready? It might feel a bit rough. 3, 2, 1. I didn't have time to answer. Reality was flooded with white light, and then everything went black. Oh! Blinding fire shot through every nerve ending, and my consciousness was yanked out of the simulation. Everything before my eyes shattered into thousands of pieces. Fragments of the city, the hall, all of it swirled together. The gleaming spirals melted like wax. The pulsing symbols dissolved into Juno's figure beside me and turned into a frozen image. I finally came to my senses on the floor, the same hall. Only now everything around us was old, broken, and filthy from being covered in thick layer of dust and moss. The one computer was still running. I felt nauseous, and my clothes were filthy, and my side ached from lying on that one position for so long. The first thing I noticed as I regained my senses was the smell, the stale odor of centuries of decay, the metallic tang of oxidized alloys, rotting plants. I tried to stand, but collapsed to my knees. My bones ached, my stomach twisted into a knot, and I doubled over, vomiting up everything left inside me. Bile burned my throat and tears steamed from my eyes. It was truly an awful experience that left me physically and emotionally stained. Damn! Juno, lying nearby, stirred and got up with a groan. She wasn't as sick as I was. Protogen seemed to handle this sort of thing better. Finally, we made it out? Yes, and Vala isn't happy about it. So, we need to grab the device and get out. Are you okay? Your species probably doesn't handle transitions well. Hold on just a bit, It'll pass soon. I'm fine, don't worry. I managed to get on my feet. Wait, but how are we supposed to find the anomaly device? She hacked the radars. I poked around in her program while I was launching a simulation exit. The tech should work now. My earpiece crackled. Pixie voice broke through. Juno, Doggo, do you hear me? I repeat, Juno, Doggo, do you hear me? Pixie, we're here. Excellent, Juno. Bring the jet to the roof of the building we're in. Doggo, are you ready? We grab the device and get out. I'm ready. Let's finish this already. My body still ached from the being motionless for so long, but I forced my muscles to work. Pixie, how long were we out of contact? 37 hours and 20 minutes. Damn, almost 2 days? Luckily, we didn't get stuck there. Could have been months or even years. So that's why that bastard set that device here, trying to buy time? Exactly. He expected we'd be stuck longer, then the anomaly would reach its peak. But we have little time left, we need to hurry. Let's grab this damn device and get out of here. I can't stand to look at this place anymore. Doggo, Juno, defense drones are heading your way. I repeat, defense drones are heading your way. Expect contact in 10 minutes. Bro, no break whatsoever in the story. Oh shit. Before I could process what was happening, a sharp buzzing like a swarm cut through the silence. Pixie, try to intercept them. Trying. It'll take 2 minutes, 40 seconds. Can you do it any faster? 2 minutes, 20 seconds. The drones rushed through empty window frames, heading straight for us. There was about 5, each about a meter square. Their matte black bodies were armored, shifting color, shimmering green and blue, absorbing light. One drone fired, and I barely managed to dodge. A mechanical voice somewhere above announced, "Simulation parameters breached. Termination protocols activated." Juno's hand found mine, and she yanked me toward the corridor. I managed to slam the doors, but they flew off their hinges immediately. Pixie, what's the status of the interception? 1 minute, 50 seconds. I grabbed a rifle, aiming at the drones as they dived after us. I managed to take one down, but not for long. No time to fight them. Come on, run. She grabbed me again with an uncomfortable, strong grip. We zigzagged through the corridors, searching for the stairs. We zigzagged through the corridors, searching for the stairs. I could feel that same vibration from the device. This way. Burst through the next door and barricaded as best we could, using my rifle as an improvised barricade. Locked the door handles. Then we rushed up to the stairs. Of course, the door didn't hold for long. It didn't break. It disintegrated into the clouds of dust. The rifle exploded, fragments flying everywhere. Pixie! 10 seconds. 9. Doggo, look out! Juno yanked me aside just as a beam cut the air inches from my head. 2. 1. Drones deactivated. Right on cue, the drones crashed into the ground, a heap of metal tumbling down the stairs and into the abyss. Juno exhaled a sigh of relief, very thankful for having gotten out of another deadly situation. Can't believe you made it. Thanks, Pixie. Always happy to help. Just the device left. We made it to the roof. The device was blinking violet right to the center. We need to hurry. We lost too much time. Our movements were sharp fast. As soon as we disabled the device, the jet began to descend above us. That's it, just... Oh, he's here! The moment a portal lit up on the other side of the roof. It was him. We knew right away. A familiar figure appeared from the portal. I cursed and bolted forward a few steps, a few seconds. Go, now! But what about the device? We can't leave it here. We can't leave it. Doggo, get out! The jet hovered close. Juno jumped inside. Grabbing the device, I sprinted the edge of the roof and jumped. A scream of terror ripped from my throat. but the next second Juno grabbed me mid-air and hauled me into the jet. Are you insane? Get us out of here now! The figure stood on the roof watching us, just 10 meters away or less, his eyes glowing under the shadow of his hood. Time seemed to freeze. What is he, Darth Vader? Is he gonna bring the jet to him or something? It's kind of funny. Time seemed to freeze at our eyes met. Then he raised his hand, and violet light burst from his palm. Pew, 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 pew. The jet shot upward, but couldn't avoid the impact. It blasted the hull, shaking us violently. I lost my balance and crashed into the wall. Pixie, give me the manual control. Control transferred. Juno jumped into the pilot's seat, her fingers flying across the controls. The jet jerked. Second attack incoming. Repeat, second attack incoming. I see it. Juno steered the jet down. The ball of energy grazed past us. We almost crashed into spirals. Only Juno's skills kept us alive as she pulled up, then shot us high into the sky. Pixie, stealth mode. Stealth mode activated. I stayed on the floor, balancing for another hit, but it didn't come. Jet functionality at 58%. Engine damage is critical. Immediate landing required. We make it to the ship. No landings, Pixie. Functionally falling, bringing the ship down to you. Too dangerous. You won't make it through the atmosphere, lowering the ship. Ahead, our main ship appeared. The jet shuddered. How big is our ship? The jet shuddered, limping home. Functionality 23%. Engine shutting down in 40 seconds. We'll make it. Open the airlock. Somehow, the jet made it to the ship. With a loud bang and metallic screech, we were thrown around by the force of the rough landing. Then all the panels went dark as the jet came to an abrupt halt inside the docking bay. Incensed at the less than ideal outcome in which we barely managed to secure another device but at high cost, I grumbled. That damn bastard almost got us. Are you okay, Juno? Yeah, we got lucky, but the jet finished. It needs urgent repairs. She stood up, stretching her limbs. Pixie set a course to the Protogen Inc. Ooh! Realizing that was a location I never heard of until now, I immediately asked Juno a quick question. Protogen Inc? Is that the repair station? Juno smirked. Better, it's a station owned by my friends. Well, sisters, actually. I finally got to my feet, my whole body aching. I needed a rest, and a shower more than anything. When we were heading to the center, did you see anything back there in the fog? I sighed. Yeah. My mom! Looks like Vala really wanted me to stay. Juno gasped, scandalized by the lengths that Vala would go to manipulate someone's memories and emotions. What a piece of shit. Did you see anything? Juno frowned. Sort of. I saw Toshi. I forgot about Toshi, bro. I forgot about Toshi. Literally, he was a character who Juno just brought up because he was her first partner. Not partner, but first adventure partner. And then he died, I guess. I don't know, something. I forgot about Toshi, bro. He was such a non-important character to me, I completely forgot about Toshi. I nodded in understanding. Toshi had been Juno's very first friend, and that she had traveled with. Grew very close to, and had lost in a terrible tragedy long before she had arrived to my planet and met me. And I think I finally understood why she wanted us to stay. The world that Vala created had outlived itself. The minds trapped in there had split over the centuries and ultimately merged into a single mass. Valhalla lured and passing travelers to feed her world with new building material. And the bastard with the anomaly device was somehow unaffected and took advantage of it? Like you said, trying to buy time. If we stayed longer, there would have been nothing to return. The planet would be torn apart, along with our bodies and all the servers. We'd have stayed in a virtual reality until it collapsed on itself. We need to send out a warning about Asteria for anyone passing through Ilion. We can't let Vala keep doing this. I know, Pixie already broadcasted the warning as soon as we established contact. The planet is one giant trap. You were right. Ghost planets are way scarier than any others. I'd rather fight another monster. Juno grinned. Told you so. Hopefully we never have to visit a ghost planet again. We gathered enough devices. But the hardest part is yet to come. Yet to come? Why? You'll see. But for now, let's get some desperately needed rest. I dropped it to the nearest horizontal surface with the ground. We really deserve a good long rest. Oh my god.